We are back, baby. The Boston Major continues, and the upsets just keep on coming in this group stage. No teams eliminated. That's not how it works, but it is still a battle for seeds, and EG have had their dreams dashed by their North American compadres, or perhaps more adversaries in this instance. It was, of course, Complexity who did damage in 3. Joining me on the panel to talk it through, I have myself, Malini, Fogged for the first time. What's going on?
How's it
and
going?
Pretty in Peach, Pyrian.
So,
Is it Peach? Yeah, it's Peach.
I call it salmon or coral.
Oh, you did.
actually.
Yeah, sorry. You're right. You criticized me before I called it.
It's not a criticism, my friend. Just
A
accuracy.
correction.
Just
a correction.
accuracy.
All right.
I'm
Well,
in Kev's seat now.
look.
remember.
Oh yeah, you've become. You're a new person. A new
Actually,
man.
it's more like coral, or maybe salmon.
And now we have to talk. What was that? Excuse me. We have to talk about how we got to this instance where Complexity are playing one game to be top of their group. First of all, Fogged. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the panel. I was promised Fogged panels, and I haven't had it up until now.
Well, now you got some.
Yes, it's time. Now, you were watching the EG game very, very closely. You were shouting about it.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. Didn't really expect that to happen, especially after the first game. It was quite a devastating defeat by EG in the first one, but then Complexity just mental fortitude coming back. Didn't really care, even though they're at a huge deficit in the second game. Just showed some huge prowess.
Yeah.
Able to fight. It's pretty impressive.
Mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure you went into the casting that game like, oh, here we go, start the day off slow, and then you were sitting there feeling like Christmas had come early, right?
The first game went by, and me and LD are just sitting there like, yeah, this is kind of what we expected. Second game's gone, and we're like, yeah, this is, they pretty much drafted the same heroes, and then out of nowhere it just exploded. We're like, wow, we're actually blessed by this. Now we get pretty much one of the best series that we actually got to cast.
Yeah, and of course, prior to that, LGD managed to get themselves into this position by playing Faceless. Malini, just a quick recap on that one. Faceless, it was quite a flatter performance from them.
Yeah, just weak form from them, and LGD showing that they are really, really good. Maybe an Ame, amazing course.
Yeah, it was really cool. And we actually can bring them up now. We'll bring up Complexity first. Let's take a look at that roster. The roster that were shouting and screaming. One man in particular on that far right, Melons.
Melones.
You were telling me he used to be Watermelons.
He was Watermelons back in a game that we won't mention.
A game that should not be named.
Should not be named.
It's like Voldemort.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, this is a roster where we actually spoke to Cancel, Ted, and we had that little interview with Slacks, and he just seemed to be setting his sights incredibly high after that victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think Swindles is a confidence player. I think that's fair to say. He's someone that when they're losing, he looks really down and kind of depressed, and he's sort of like, oh, we didn't deserve this kind of thing. But he does always come back, and I think he's obviously got a real will to succeed, and that you have to have a team that fits with that. So I think if you have a team that's kind of low confidence and quiet, that's not going to help. Swindles is a talkative guy. He's a loud guy. He's a captain who, he wants everybody to win sort of thing, and he's very driven. So I think it only makes sense they add players that fit that mold.
I do think this is an interesting question, Fogged, because when the personalities like that exist, that have this hunger to win, sometimes it can have an adverse effect on your teammates, right? When things go bad, they get worse, don't you think?
I think so, but I think they have probably some people that are very keen, just like Melons. They're these guys who just like to be boisterous, volatile, and stuff like that. But then they have Moo. Everybody knows Moo. Very quiet, timid kind of guy. Maybe when they win, he gets super excited. But if you've ever seen Moo when they lose, I think he's the most head down person. He's just like, don't look at me. I'm so depressed right now. Z-Freak as well. He's a very quiet, kind of shy guy. So they probably have a nice mixture between them. So it probably just helps them.
They meet like a rage equilibrium. Yeah. Which actually sounds like a pretty cool heavy metal band. Anyone, you guys want to make a band?
Rage Equilibrium.
Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah, like one of those new metal bands.
Yeah.
Where they go raw, stuff like that. Yeah,
but with some kind of squeaky American vocals as well. No, I'm not going to do it. No, I decided that's
Damn, we were so close.
I was so close to embarrassing myself. I've done enough of that. LGD haven't embarrassed themselves, though, Ben. We'll bring up their names because, you in particular were impressed by a couple of individuals. You maybe in middle seem to be the recurring MVP and storyline.
Yeah, we talk about them a little bit.
We get a bit bored of maybe. So, perhaps Victoria crops up.
Victoria, I like a lot. XZ, most people know him from his prior teams, but he has been playing really well in the support role. But Victoria, he really stood out to me with his Wisp and Oracle play, which are very difficult heroes, right?
Yeah, they're definitely hard heroes because you have to be very position-oriented, and you're pretty much one of the heroes that are super underfarmed in all these games. It's up to you to just make the big plays when you're at the super deficit. So it's really cool to see. I actually wanted to ask you, how's Jixing been doing? Because if you look at looking at his most heroes played, Legion Commander is one of his top ones. And that guy's
so they asked maybe about it in the interview. He said that Jixing just really likes.
Jixing, sorry.
That's how he. That's Chinese pronunciation.
Yeah, of course.
They just like LC a lot. His Sardar died a lot, but he just goes in dies, and then maybe an Ame do their thing. So he's not the farmer. He's there, go in and do stuff.
Okay.
But his answer was so brief, wasn't it? It was like, so I mean, Legion Commander Slacks is like, why? You know, this isn't picked up to Western teams, and the answer was, he likes it.
Yep.
It's like that's it.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah,
It works well with the Wisp too. Like imagine if Victoria's playing those type of heroes, it pairs up really well with him. So they just have that kind of like synergy between them too. That kind of
It's
works
always
out.
interesting to me when you have a team where a player is just, I just really like that hero, but it doesn't really. I just really like him. Oh, okay, yeah. We'll
It's
make
in their
it work.
best interest to not really say why too.
Yeah, there's also that. There is also that.
But he could also just really like
He
it.
could just really like it. You just have to pick it. He really likes it. Okay.
You want to make your players happy, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
We'll
It's
have
like
to see.
It's a good thing I'm not a captain. A, I'm terrible, and B, I'd be like, you're not playing that fucking hero. Pardon my language.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about, you want to step away from maybe, which I understand, Ben. It seems to be a bit of a recurring storyline. We wanted to talk about the support. So we bring up a head-to-head. It did seem like actually Z-Freak was someone who actually picked up the MVP in the previous game. Whether he can continue that into the next is going to be interesting. And his compadre on the other side of things will be XZ. What do we know about this young chap?
So he played Riki a lot and just gave all the information. These two players just set up everything for their team. They make the core shine. These are the people that, that are behind the scenes.
Yep. I mean, I personally, I'm a huge fantasy freak. Have been for quite a while. Like he's just like one of those like kind of guys that just like flows under the radar a bit. He's always kind of like shining in the top for complexity, but it's just like people kind of just like overlook him in a way. Like he's always having like these incredible performances when he's on his team, even when they're losing.
Okay. Now, this is going to be really interesting. I'm so glad that we have a chance to do this now. Complexity, one series win away from topping their group. Most expected them to do quite the opposite. But it is LGD in their way, and we're doing predictions now. Is anyone going to get on the Complexity hype train is the question. We're going to work our way from Ted.
Okay.
In your
I don't think that Faceless were in a great spot. So I think it's kind of hard to judge LGD's performance against them. Yeah, they look fantastic, but I kind of think that the Faceless really didn't look great. So I'm kind of thinking that was a slightly easier test, with all due respect to both teams, compared to Complexity beating EG, which I think was a greater achievement. So I think Complexity are on a high, they're buzzing, they want to top the group, they're competitive enough to want that, as are LGD, but I think Complexity will take it, but I think it probably will be a 3-game series. I'm going to say 2-1 Complexity.
All right. Flying the North American flag. What about you?
I want to say Complexity because they're especially like a momentum team. They're, you know, you can obviously look at them like you're mentioning, their emotions on their face, everything like that. But I still got to go with LGD 2-0.
Oh, so I was going to say, do you predict with your head or your heart? That was a head prediction, wasn't
Yes.
it? It was.
I didn't get to see LGD, but overall, I mean, from how Ben was saying it too, I'm a big fan of maybe always. This guy's one of the best mids in the world. Putting my confidence in them.
Putting your confidence in them. Where's your blood flow,
LGD.
Ben? That was going to be such a silly question. So yeah, head or your heart? Just going straight to LGD.
I don't have a heart.
You don't? No, just
LGD.
like the Tin Man. Don't know if anyone.
I like LGD a lot more. Like they signed maybe, and there's a reason they just built a team around this guy, and I think they have the right supporting crew to do it.
So I mean, we can start. So, actually, I forget. I get to do predictions, don't I? Ooh.
You follow Ted many times.
I've been following Ted.
You were going to say way too much there, Ben.
Way to the dumpster? Is that what you're going to say? Follow Ted to the dumpster too much? Right.
Just come along with for the ride.
Ted, we've been having fun.
Look, ride the train with me.
We
Get
have
on this
been
tiny
riding the train.
with me. It's just you and me.
Yeah.
We've got the whole train to ourselves.
That's
We're
nice.
back in Complexity. Let these guys go on the fancy LGD train. Come home. Come on.
You want me to go hang out with
yeah,
you?
let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go Complexity. Sure, why not?
You were very reluctant.
I'm what's the word? Peer pressure. Peer pressure from Ted. It's too much. I'm scared of him. He intimidates me.
Is he your peer?
Huh?
Are you his peer?
Peer? No.
I think you've got quite an age advantage on him, especially.
yeah, big advantage on him.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to respect your elders as
Exactly.
well.
There you go.
Elders, there
better.
we go. I'll take that.
And it looks like Twitch are actually siding with us, Ted.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll
That's
take that.
they're as stupid as I am. They'll just back whoever they want to win.
That's
so
the first time that's happened.
Twitter.
Twitter and Twitch are going different ways.
You can't trust Twitter. It's all bots on there anyway. Come
Is
on.
it? Yeah, these damn eggs shouting at me.
What? How do you say that? Come on.
Do you ever get? I always get the most abuse from the eggs. The eggs are the scary ones. You got to watch out for on Twitter.
Yeah.
The little egg profile picture. You know, that's where the real flame's coming from.
Yeah.
It is. The draft is on its way though, so we can go ahead and start kind of speculating a little bit. You were singing the praises of Riki. Does he pop up again? I would love. Oh, am I being silly?
Riki?
No,
Not
not at all.
silly. Yeah, being silly.
You're
No,
not
no.
being silly. It's a
Okay.
good question.
It's not something that you
I
base
just
your
saw
draft
Fog's face.
around.
I was like, oh, what have I done?
Did I
just
make a
looks like
face?
that
That's just me.
Oh, that's just you.
When we talk about strategies, we don't talk about them being based around the Riki.
No.
We talk about like drow strategies is one in particular that you base your lineup around. Riki's just like, you know, he He's just in the lineup.
Yeah, but he might have a presence here just because of how highly complex he's like favoring OD. Like Ricky Cloud's obviously very good versus OD in many stages. Not able to get any spells off. It could be a factor, but it's not something that we really see. It's more like one of these picks that you just you see how the draft progresses, and it's like, wow, Ricky's really good here, and they pick it up. It fits really well.
Sure. So you don't base a strategy around him, but you do, as the man on our screen, you do base a strategy around maybe.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, LGD picked completely different lineups, and like they didn't pick the same hero in either of the two games. Like there was two completely fresh lineups, so that's good. They
picked Leshrac.
Who did? LGD.
Oh, sorry.
No.
My complexity.
Complexity did. Like both teams like OD. So that's one thing. I don't know if you try to pick it or ban it, but Warlock I think might come into play. I think he'd be really strong with a lot of the teams that they pick. Mirana, OD, Warlock makes sense to me, but we'll have to wait and see.
Now, Fogged, it's great that we have you on the panel because we have yet to hear your side of this discussion surrounding being on the same patch that we were on in TI to the closest extent. It hasn't happened before. And it does seem like there's a difference of opinions. Already we had it between Ben and Kevin, but with yourself, do you believe that we are seeing less of a diverse hero pool being picked here as we did in TI, despite the patch being the same?
I do think so. I think people are starting to. It's been like a long time, so people start to learn like what's like the most powerfuls, which ones pair better together, and just you learn. It's kind of just like you learn how these teams like start to play more. Like they start to see like how much like more and more that they play, like what they kind of just like build their drafts around. So I think that we're starting to see just teams just looking at like what's the strongest, what works easiest, rather than just like moving away from that. So just like probably just ease of execution makes a big difference in that manner.
But the general consensus is still that this is one of the most competitive patches in terms of like diversity of heroes, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I think each patch is like a puzzle, and the teams have to, at the very start, they're all putting together different corners in different parts of the puzzle, and you get your edges filled in, and maybe you get a bit here and you're not quite sure how it works, and then over time you're all completing the puzzle, you all get a good look at it, and then it's like, well, this is clearly the best bit, so we'll all just focus on that bit.
It went for a long time. Like even like take a look at the hero, like OD.
Sure.
People were doing a completely different build on this hero. It got nerfed a couple of times, and everybody's like, all right, this hero's not good anymore. It died for a couple of weeks, maybe even like a month or so.
It got
and then
picked like twice at TI.
It got picked like twice, and then people started realizing, okay, Arcane Orb, his Q ability isn't the powerhouse. It's the Astral Imprisonment, and it completely changed the entire way the hero was played. So there's things that just people start to experiment with more, playing more pubs. You start to just kind of see what powers are with the heroes rather than their weaknesses and all that kind of thing. So
you see that development. I think that's really cool. Are there some players or teams that spring to mind that solve that puzzle quicker, that tend to be the ones, like the spearhead of this innovation, or is it literally just a case of over time, as a community, as a hive mind, we develop the strategies?
Team would you say is like
Wings
Wings because they seem to understand the hero pool way before everybody else, especially at TI. At TI they turned up and it felt like they'd been playing this patch forever.
So you're saying we're going to see Techie's Pudge?
Exactly, yeah, stuff like that. I mean, they can do stuff like that, and they pick lineups you'd think, wow, okay, this is completely different to the lineup they just ran, and this is completely different to the one they ran before that. So they just seem to have all these builds and these lineups that they could pull out of their toolbox. It's like, wow, these guys really understand this patch. So they were probably, like Ben said, the spearhead of understanding the patch before everybody else. But they've all caught up now, I think, the teams.
All caught up, and it is almost draft time. I have received word. Players are back in seats. And so we can start to guide the conversation back to where Complexity and LGD do face off. A quick reminder for people at home, LGD by no means are the most intimidating of adversaries. In fact, the reason that they weren't qualified for this was because they lost twice to IG Vitality, a team that we have actually kind of given very little praise.
Hubris. People would say they picked them. You get it.
They picked them.
They picked them. Yeah. The way the qualifiers work, if you get on top of the qualifiers, you get to pick your opponent, and they picked the opponent they lost to, and then they lost to them again.
Damn.
And then they got knocked out. So
it's a pretty bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, and hopefully they have been brought back down to earth after that, and been like, oh wow, we got another chance. Let's actually use this and not throw it away.
Yeah, because there was a debate, wasn't there? It was like, have LGD kind of taken the foot off the gas after realizing they're not coming to the major, and then Execration, and they do come in? Or are they sitting there like, we've got so much to prove, we messed up the qualifiers, second chance? I mean, it's literally, it's one or the other, isn't it, Fogged?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like the second one, though, like the latter. Like, they definitely have a lot to prove here coming into this, and we're going to see coming out of it. Like Ben said, they seemed extremely strong coming into their first series, so...
Let's start with the draft, because already things are going down. That's a Nyx Assassin, Ogre Magi for LGD, and a Leshrac pulling in from Complexity.
I think the Nyx is obviously great versus the Lesh, but they're probably expecting Complexity to go for the OD, right? So they kind of just building their lineup to have some versatility and just Just like preemptive maneuvers. But yeah, you said it though. You said Ricky would be kind of like an important thing. The complexity banned out Ricky.
God, I'm just so smart.
Look at you go.
Yeah, look at me go. Totally not a complete coincidence. I'll take it though. Yes, mastermind machine.
Oh my. Oh, alrighty then. That's a bit of a change up from what we've been seeing.
Yeah, why are your eyebrows raised so high here, Fogged?
I like Kunga.
You like it?
It's a good hero.
Yeah.
No one's really been picking him aside from complexity, though. He got nerfed a little bit in his torrent and just fell off. He was first pick every game. Now he is almost nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, his torrent got nerfed and his bolt got some slight changes.
But
as
it's
well,
all, I mean, the thing is, Alex, these changes will be like this big,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah,
not like they
yeah.
come in and say, oh, we're going to halve the damage. You know, it's like this tiny change, and teams are like, oh, yeah, he's rubbish now. And then all it takes is a couple of teams to pick him and win with him, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, Kunka's still good. It's like, it happens. It always happens. A tiny little nerf from teams just, oh, no, it's not good.
Like a tweak, less than a change. It is just
It's stupid.
There was a joke. It's like Darkseer vacuum nerf from 24 seconds to 24 seconds.
Yeah. Like, there was a series of patches where Darkseer's vacuum continually got nerfed.
right.
by 1 second.
By like a second.
Yep.
And it's eventually they got to a point where he's pickable, but he wasn't like first pick every time, which he was for a while. But I do think Kunka's still good. I think you've got some synergy with X and Leshrac and Torrent and everything like that, so it all sort of fits together, I guess. But we'll have to see what they've got planned. I like it when a team picks non-meta heroes. I like that.
I mean, I don't think. How many lashes have we seen?
3?
Only
This
complexity.
being the third, I think.
This
Yeah,
is it.
that's
This
only
is a complexity
complexity.
pick.
Maybe
This is the
two.
first time
Maybe
we've seen
two.
them on the main
Yeah.
broadcast. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, their mentality by it is just like it gets really hard to draft these heroes that just like push. They don't really like to put their cores on heroes. They like to push buildings, and this is a hero that if you win a fight, Leshrac is alive, die by the Edict, you're able to easily take down towers with that physical aspect on them. So at least that's what I'm imagining is their strongest thing. Of course,
that
he's
makes sense.
decent in the laning phase too because you have a 2-second stun at all levels. It's really strong in that manner, but pretty sure it's more so for the Edict.
It's one of the only heroes I see them give farm preference to Swindles too on
Mhm.
Leshrac. He's like farmed like mech and pipe on that hero before with arcane boosts, and it's very rare. Like Tree and other heroes that he plays just gets nothing.
Yeah.
Tree did pop up. You're right. Whether to do that again.
They banned the Life Stealer. Banned Mirana and Spirit Breaker.
Given respect to Complexity's recent their last performance, banning
Yeah.
out the Mirana and the Spirit Breaker for sure. Spirit Breaker is also he's a pretty good hero versus Nyx.
Yeah.
Able to just kind of follow him around, obviously, with the charge. And just, strength heroes versus Nyx tend to be pretty strong.
I wonder how much
Jug.
preparation's been done for this.
For this exact game?
I mean, LGD probably weren't anticipating complexity.
No, I doubt it. But
Definitely not.
yeah.
Like at all. Like literally, they probably
They
didn't
had a
think
lot
they'd
more
meet
time
them.
though.
That's true.
Than Complexity. Complexity just finished the game, whereas yeah, I'm not sure who Complexity were prepping for either. Who knows?
Who
Sure.
knows? And so,
I mean, have these teams played each other before much? LGD and Complexity?
Not this iteration.
Not for
I
a
don't
while, eh?
think. No way.
LGD complexity. I have wrote it down. They met in Shanghai Major, but only maybe remains on the losing LGD squad. So no.
That was a long time ago.
That was
Yeah.
quite a long time ago.
That's
Even
literally
don't
the-
say those words.
No, that's
Don't say
Yeah, that's the,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
the
so
major
sorry.
we do not speak.
I should be careful.
So an approach most teams take versus LGD, at least from what I've seen, is banning out like Rubik and banning out Sand King, but LGD does get their heavily contested Rubik here in the third pick. It has some great spells to steal already, obviously with the Leshrac,
Mm-hmm.
all the spells there. Kunkka as well. You get
Yeah.
everything you can get there is very useful. It also just pairs pretty well with the heroes they have already.
In Complexity, they want to be able to combo people with the Kunkka X. They ban out 2 heroes that are very good at escaping the X with magic immunity, and they don't have any save. They don't have a Dazzle, they don't have an Oracle, they don't have an OD for disruption. They
Yeah.
have really nothing to save important cores from being focused down at this point in time. And LGD, they're also looking to maybe limit Cancel's hero pool a little bit, banning out the Mirana, even though Z-Freak does play it a lot, and he plays the Kunkka. They also run mid-Mirana a lot. The Nyx is already limiting the OD pick from Complexity, so it also somewhat limits a Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not too much left for Cancel, at least not of the common picks that we've seen.
Okay.
OD is still in the pool, though.
Yeah,
So
but there's the Nyx.
there's every chance
There's
LGD
Nyx.
will take him, though, no?
There is still a chance that LGD definitely will. Rubik as well is also kind of a deterrent for Complexity not to pick the OD too, because stealing Astral is super easy.
Mm.
Both the abilities that you can steal from OD are highly
Yeah.
effective.
There's also still Wisp. They can run
There is still
Kunkka
Wisp.
middle on Cancel if they feel like there's nothing else.
That's a good point. Yeah, they haven't. He plays that a lot in pubs and stuff, but
He,
they
he's
put
played
it a couple times.
competitive.
Okay,
he
then
played
he
in
has
the
played it a few
qualifiers
times.
for sure. And then you run Wisp Leshrac, which they like to do a lot. They don't really have a good way to deal with a Wisp, I don't think, at the moment.
Mm.
Complexity taking some time here.
Is this one of those ones where they know already, or it's genuinely like a thought process? Looking at Nyx, Ogre, Magi, and
From
Rubik.
what the other captains said, they almost never use reserve time unless they have to, unless it's the very last one.
If you look, actually, it's interesting to me when Complexity draft, there's a lot more talking. You see some teams drafting and the drafter just drafts and the other players just sit there. But yeah, there's a lot more talking and discussion.
Quick, get a lip reader.
Timber.
Going Timber.
Okay, I was about to say they Complexity. It seems like they really heavily like to pick Moo's hero in the third pick. So this is more than likely
Is
his.
he playing Timber?
That's a Moo hero, right?
He did it at TI6 a lot.
Yeah, but he plays carry.
Oh, yeah.
They still, I mean, it's still a Moo hero, right? But I mean,
I don't know.
it's true. It is more so of an offlaner, but there are instances where people put it safe lane. Wings is a big culprit, right?
Yeah, but it's an offlane player that
It
plays
is.
it.
Yeah, that's true.
I honestly don't know with Complexity because they've swapped monkeys. They've tried him on carry. They've tried him on offlane. And in the series versus Ichi, he played offlane. So we have like what 5 games to go off of.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
been a little bit more.
So do you think they
monkeys
could
off
role switch, or do you think it's not something they do in this series?
Role switch.
Well, put Moo back on Timber and move someone else to
They
carry.
could, but it seems unlikely given. I think if you win with EG with the roles that you had, it's good enough.
Yeah,
that
that's
you can
true.
just
Fair
keep-
enough. That's
keep
a valid
going with
point.
it.
So let's kind of quickly recap. LGD, where are they relentlessly taking Magi? So we said already, but what are like the things that we've seen on almost 100%? That I just want to kind of recap for the people at home. We've seen Bat Rider highly contested, and just in general drafting over the course of the 2 days. What else do we add to this list? Bat Rider, Magi, Warlock,
Rubik.
Rubik. Has he
Rubik
been
is probably one of the
equally
most,
yeah?
most
Super
picked.
high.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think what else kind of falls into that
Sladar's
category.
been very
Slardar,
popular.
yeah, that's a good
He's been
call.
very popular as well, I think.
Just trying to I think it's interesting to see how this looks in comparison to what was so highly contested on the same patch over at TI.
Oh, at TI, what were the
Summit,
big picks?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I just want to see if there's a huge comparison between the two.
Elder Titan seemed to be picked a lot more at TI.
It was.
Yeah,
Yep.
he seemed to be in pretty much every game.
Kunkka
And,
was picked like every game at TI
yeah,
too.
Kunkka was very
But
popular.
he was, yeah, like we said,
At
he
least it's
got
slightly
hit by the
changed.
the ban hammer.
Bat hammer, the nerf
Nerf
hammer.
hammer, same thing.
It could be a bat, maybe less of a hammer.
But at
It's a
TI,
tweaking
I mean,
hammer.
literally every game there'd be a hero. It felt like they were like, oh, they've picked so-and-so. And it was like we were counting down the number of heroes left that hadn't been picked. And in
Yeah.
the end, I think Lena was one of them that wasn't picked.
Oh, I
There
had
were
the
there were a
number
couple
on
that
the
weren't picked. It
screen.
was tiny number compared to what it usually is.
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of carried over. But yeah, like we've been saying, it's shifted a bit more. It's a bit more balanced. People tend to be picking similar kind of heroes now. I mean, obviously we've seen a lot of Drow, and
Oh,
Bat.
Drow, yeah,
Yeah.
another one to mention. It does sound like we're having a slight technical
Yeah.
difficulties.
I think I think Complexity were having issues, so we just paused for a second here.
Oh, okay. Okay. So while they are resolving that one, we can take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
We could give a shout out to Bournemouth for beating Liverpool 4-3 today.
Yes, indeed.
That was a great result for us.
Well, as we take a breath, though,
I didn't realize.
LGD grabs maybe OD.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, you called it. You said OD was coming.
Yeah.
I said that. That was
That's
me.
fine. I didn't take credit. I just said yeah.
Okay.
It was a generic you. Yeah, you called it, Ted.
I need some credit for something, damn it.
I'll give you a pat on the back for
Thanks,
that.
buddy. What do you do now as Complexity? Like, looking at LGD's lineup, they've got Rubik, who they really like. They've got OD, who they really like. Like, their lineup is pretty much what they'd want so far, right?
Just going shopping.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. Does seem like complexity. I'm looking at that timer. I'm getting slightly nervous and apprehensive here.
Oh, they'll be fine.
Okay. 15. It's going to be a
Sniper.
sniper.
Just a hero that matches up pretty well versus the OD. Something we see quite often.
Are you not a bit worried as a sniper against a Nyx assassin, though? Like, the fact that he can get around the back and get to you in these team fights? Or are we just thinking he'll manage?
I think it's more so just for the laning thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
In the later stages, he's going to be positioned like he should be super far back, and they should, like technically they should have like vision at least, so the Knicks can't really get into the back lines in that type of instance.
So where does this push the Kunkka to then, and the Lesh? Like, what are the roles here? Timber off, sniper mid. So Kunkka Lesh, what are you going to do? Are we going to do like carry Kunkka or something? Are we going to do
Support.
both as support?
Mm-hmm.
Because at one point you were talking about Kunkka mid, but that's been removed.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 more. It does seem like we have resolved those issues. And man, this is
They banned Void.
Is it a void?
They banned
Yes.
Void.
I like Void Sniper.
Yeah, it's really good.
Taking that away from them.
Sniper has no damage though. There's no bloodlust.
Bounty.
Ooh, okay.
So Core Lesh?
Yeah, they've run offlane Lesh before, so they could run offlane Lesh plus. But doesn't Z-Freak usually play the Bounty Hunter and the Kunkka?
Yeah, he does.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think why.
What makes it so interesting? Bounty Hunter coming in.
Because we were expecting the Kunkka and the Lesh to be supports. I mean, you're not going to run Bounty as like a carry. So one of the we're now trying to figure out. Okay, so do they put you're going to put Sniper mid against OD because that's a good matchup. Yeah. So we either Kunkka or Lesh, one of them is going to be your carry. So you've got to figure out which.
Kunkka's good mid too, though.
Yeah, he is. So they could put Kunkka mid, Sniper safe.
It is okay, yeah.
We don't know.
We do not know.
The only thing we know is Bounty Hunters as support.
Yeah.
We've solved that much. Oh, well, that's going to be quite a nice question for the casters to work out where those roles are going. It feels like you guys are kind of just going to put your hands up and wait now.
I mean, generally, when you see who picks which hero, you'll know from there. Their role is defined. But
and you don't know what the safe laner is, too. If it's a melee, maybe you're more willing to put Timber there. Maybe if it's something weak, you can put Bloodtrack +1.
I guess it also kind of depends what LGD pick as their last pick. Yeah. You could kind of decide between Kunkka and Lesh at that point.
You wouldn't really want Lesh to be that much of a core though into Nyx, right? Because Lesh has an incredible int gain. He gets really heavily destroyed by Nyx in those stages. But
I agree.
Right? You probably wouldn't want to, but
I mean, not as a safe lane carry. I think offlane
maybe offlane. Okay.
Could work, but they have Slark, so I think you kind of want to put the Timber there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, guys, these questions are going to be answered. We did get through that draft, and I think the casters will be able to take it from here. We'll be back to talk about that in just a moment, but of course, Capitalists and Gods are standing by to guide you through all of the action here. Will the Complexity Dream continue?
I'm not too sure about that one. Is the Complexity Dream going to continue? Our analysts couldn't really figure out much. They couldn't figure out whether or not Complexity was going to win. They couldn't figure out what Complexity's heroes were going to be and what the lanes are. Fortunately, the real analysts are going to be standing in. Gods, what exactly is Complexity doing?
I mean, it's Mu Timbersaw,
of course. Safe lane, of course it is. Absolutely. We're doing this totally off the top of the head. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we can actually see what Complexity is picking and
right
who
here,
they're playing.
That's all I see is our pretty faces.
And that's really all you need to see, right, Gods? That's all you need to see.
Viewers at home need to see something else, though, and that's the game.
We'll reveal it to the viewers now. You can see Complexity are going to be running a support Leshrac, not going to be running the offlane Leshrac that they have run in the past. Cancel is indeed going to be playing that mid sniper, and they're actually putting Monkeys Forever on the Bounty Hunter.
What?
So,
core bounty.
So maybe we.
So guys, the one thing the analysts had worked out. They said they didn't know anything about the draft except that bounty is support. Well, about that, guys.
Time to retire, analysts. I guess. I don't know. Well, neither one of us expected that one either. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm sure things will break down a little bit more complicated than.
It's still I think it's still a support bounty, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to actually be playing a safe lane bounty role, or.
I think we're going to be kind of bleeding the 3 and 4 positions together, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, there's no way that we're going to be seeing a huge differentiation between these two.
Is the 5 even being blurred into that mix? Because it's Kunkka, Lesh, and Bounty. All 3 of those are kind of 4 position heroes. So you've got 3 4 position heroes, no 5, no offlaner. Well, who knows how this works?
So our matchups here, though. Do you favor Complexity? We've seen what they're actually playing, who's playing what, but we've got a Cancel Sniper versus a mid OD, and we have a Timbersaw who's going to be matched up against the Slark as our safe lane versus safe lane scenarios. Do you feel good about Complexity going into the mid game and being the clear aggressors? Do you think they can actually beat LGD on that front?
They definitely can. With the Bounty Hunter, if he gets that fast level 6 and can start getting them some kills, they have huge snowball potential. The scary thing is, for me, maybe is OD. We saw it earlier today when LGD were taking on Faceless. If he gets a little bit of a support and he's got no Gamagia on his team, he's just going to get out of control.
Oh, dear. Jizing, he did not expect this one. The Leshrac actually wraps around and has level 1 Edict, so it's not even like he could do a whole lot, even if he did have the Spike Carapace. Moo's going to be the one to pick up the first blood. The lane will push out a bit, but it's still a bad start for our Nyx Assassin up at the top lane.
Yeah, he gets the TP up there and gets some guaranteed CS at his tower, but that's not really a consolation prize for giving up first blood early on.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of offlaners try and do that, right? Go behind the tier 1 tower in the beginning and pull the creep wave and get that fast level 2, but this time around he does get punished. In the mid lane matchup, we have maybe facing up against Cancel on the Sniper, but we also have some guests. Z-Freak has already showed himself mid as a Kunkka, and the Ogre Magi has also been mid once before, but he's actually now up the top lane, going to try and help out our Nyx Assassin and pressure back the Timbersaw as much as you can, but there's only so much you can pressure a Timbersaw, right? Once he starts getting those levels.
Absolutely. Right now he's level 2 still, so just the 1 point in reactive armor. It's a very pressurable lane, but that'll quickly change, and I imagine XC will be considering heading back towards mid once that point's reached. But Moo's one of those players, like, I mean, you go back to some of the success DC had at TI4 with him in his Timbersaw. Like, he often had these lanes which were very favorable, and then when they finally kind of faltered, it was when he got pressured in lane. He had some 1v2 matchups as Timbersaw where he thought he was going to get a 1v1, and that was sometimes where DC struggled. So I think LGD recognized maybe some of the weaknesses there, want to rotate the Ogre up top, give him a little bit of a tougher time early on, but it still should be a relatively easy lane for Moo.
Yeah, that is one thing, right, is that they do not have cores that are going to be able to rotate out of their lanes reliably, right? OD is a little bit more of a, wants to be able to sit in mid lane for the most part, and we've got a Slark at the bottom lane.
Bottom lane, they're going in,
Dust goes out. Monkey's in some serious trouble. He does have a TP, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to have the chance to use it. Telekinesis goes off, and they easily have the damage to finish him off. The score now evened up 1-1.
Yeah, nice little move. Victoria's one of those very active supports in the early game and catches Monkey's bit by surprise there. And yeah, Monkey's playing a straight-up off-lane bounty hunter role. This goes way back to like TI2 era where it was like YYF for IG, just playing off-lane bounty hunter every game, just getting that fast level 6, trying to get track online, which is the general idea here. It does force, of course, whenever you're playing bounty, your opponents to buy a lot of sentries, dust, detection. It can be very bothersome. It keeps one of the supports theoretically down in this bottom lane, although Slark is actually fine to 1v1 the lane and get farm, but it's such an easy hero to gank that typically you'll see Rubik kind of sitting down this bottom lane looking for those kills.
Yeah, this was a time when the off lane was much more considered a suicide lane, right? Oh, the stun goes off at the top lane. Spike Carapace does bounce back some of that damage, and it looks like our Nyx will be very, very fine. A missed torrent from Z-Freak, just slightly off place. They thought they were going to be able to get a clean initiation there, but it doesn't quite turn out that way. Another dusted bottom lane. Monkeys Forever is going to be caught. The pounce latching onto him. And again, Monkeys is left in a situation where he is done for, and he knows it. Tries to juke into the trees, but nothing to do there. 2-1 now. LGD are actually winning all of their lanes so far. You take a look at the CS, and they are top 3 already by 3.5 minutes in.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the big downsides and weaknesses of that bounty in the offlane, because typically supports the ones who are sent mid lane. They're going to but typically it's the supports who are going to carry the dust and sentries. So when you're roaming around, you can avoid those sentry wards that way you know they're on the map. You can avoid the supports and harass the cores and make sure of an impact. But when you're just seeing this bottom lane, those supports know exactly where to go to find you and kill you.
Monkey's trying to take the bounty rune away, but maybe he's still able to pick it up, refill his bottle. Nyx Assassin, fake out there from Swindles, but will still be stopped in his tracks as a stray Diabolic Edict bounces some damage back onto him. Z-Freak's going to try and come in, though. He has that level 2, so the combination is ready to go. The question is whether or not his team is ready to be able to follow this one up. They will be able to X him back into place. He has no mana to be able to work off anymore. One more second, and he has a mango. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to make that dive, as the Nyx Assassin, once again, thanks to his early poor man shield that he was able to pick up, proves to be too tanky.
It was a great 2-man stun, and he has had an absurd amount of CS in this offlane. 18 CS. That was with very minimal help from the Ogre, I'd say. And considering he's been up against a pretty much continual dual lane, even sometimes tri-lane up top, that is impressive from the Nyx. So very good stuff for him, and it's feeling like LGD coming out on top of the laning stage so far.
Yeah, for sure, right? This is probably a dual lane, unless the Kunkka, he's obviously rotated a couple times up to the top lane, but if it's just the Leshrac Timbersaw, that's not a lane that you really feel a whole lot of kill power, right? Nyx Assassin should be able to play around that.
And the kind of bad lane stage has put Monkeys in this awkward position where he's not level 6. Ideally, wanted to try play that lane, get the fast level 6, but now he's like, okay, can I help mid? If you leave the bottom lane, it turns into an empty lane where Slark's free farming. Realistically, Slark's free farming regardless of what you do, but you at least want to be down there, making sure that someone on this dire complexity team is taking advantage of at least the experience available. And as a bounty hunter, you feel like you just haven't done what you were meant to do as far as being an offlaner, which is get a little bit of CS so you can maybe get a fast Arcane Boots or an Urn of Shadows, and then get the fast level 6. He's not getting a fast level 6 in the offlane so far.
Yeah, it seems like our Nyx Assassin is going to have a much higher impact with his levels that he's receiving in lane, as Monkeys has not been able to get gold coupled with those levels. Mid is still somewhat even, 24-7 for Cancel CS, 25-8 on Maybe as he goes for the 6-minute rune, easily secured by XC's Ogre. He's just been kind of babysitting Maybe. They know he's the big farmer. The Slark is obviously not threatened by a bounty hunter ever, right? So they just want to make sure this other core does all right for himself.
Yeah, a bit of pressure coming in. They actually go on to Cancel here. He's made a bit of a overstep going for that bit of a pressure, and maybe he's going to come back in. Doesn't get the kill in the end, but it's a kill onto the sniper.
I mean, if they went ahead, push out that lane at the bottom lane with the Slark, you know, they pop a Dark Pack, right? It pushes the Bounty Hunter back. He doesn't really know where the Rubik is, and Rubik can easily leave that lane, right? He doesn't need to be able to sit in there and try and keep the Bounty Hunter back constantly.
Yeah, so Victoria now being involved in all 3 of these LGD kills have had great success.
Well, Nyx Assassin now has to face up against a level 6 Timbersaw. The Chakram adding that kill damage by quite a large amount, but he still seems to be too tanky. It's not quite enough damage. Now Victoria comes in, tries to actually catch one of the supports, won't be able to do so. Pulls back the Timbersaw. They will be able to get the stun out, but with the extra support of the Ogre, it doesn't look like it's even going to be coming close. Moo is just way too tanky, but they do keep the Nyx Assassin live, and their other 2 cores are fine for being solo for now.
Yeah, some good aggressive vision from Complexity in both mid and top lane is trying to set up these kills, but very slightly misdone by Swindles there as Nyx actually ran forward, which is one of those nice things you can do when you see that Lesh Stun coming, is he's often anticipating you to be retreating backwards, so you fake him out, run forward, dodges it, and from there, LGD have kept Nyx alive. He hasn't hit level 6 yet, which is kind of his big timing where he can look to perhaps find a kill or pick off onto Cancel in the mid lane, or at least vacate that top lane for one of the supports to get their XP. But still getting a lot out of it. Similarly, Bounty Hunter trying to just get his level 6 so he can start getting a bit more active.
If we break down this game plan for both teams, right, Complexity very clearly need to be the aggressors at 15 minutes. Monkeys, almost going down to the last bit of Dark Pack damage. They're actually still searching for him to TP out, and he will be able to find that kill. Another opportunity.
Just pounced on him at the tower and threw a Dark Pack, but... yeah, so, I mean, overall game plan, like, ideally for LGD, it's going to be creating space for, well, Slark to get his Shadow Blade up. I say they may just be going for the Midas before the Shadow Blade, but realistically, they want to be using the 2 supports and the Nyx Assassins to play aggressive in this kind of early stage of the game once they get to level 6. Even pre-level 6, they've got Jizing on the Nyx Assassin trying to get active here. And for Complexity, they've really got to start getting some trap kills once they hit level 6 on the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, we've got the scaling of both a Slark and an OD to worry about for Complexity as they're matched up against that. They definitely need to be able to dominate the mid game, but with the laning phase going so poor, it's hard to see how that's going to be able to happen. The top lane is being pushed out quite a bit by the Timbersaw. His relentless pressure of just being so tanky and being able to clear through waves is getting some damage onto that tower bit by bit, but it's also feeding quite a lot of gold to our Nyx Assassin.
Yeah. This is one of these things we saw Ame do when he was playing the Luna. When he feels like the game in the lane stage is going really well, which it was the game he played Luna, he just goes these really greedy builds that gets him even further ahead. In that game, it was maxing the Luna Glaze by level 8, skipping his Eclipse as a Luna just to play the farm. This game, it's the Midas. He's probably being told by his captain, like, hey, this lane's, we're doing really well. Everything's going according to plan. Go greedy if you want, because we've done so on the early game. And you look at Complexity's heroes, their cores. You've got Sniper as well as Timbersaw. Neither of these heroes hits a level timing where they start rotating. You don't really think of a Sniper as a hero that can smoke gank with his support. Same for the Timbersaw. Timbersaw normally stays in his lane. He pressures the tower because he's so good at just tanking it up. He can tank the creep wave, clear it out very fast, but he doesn't smoke with his team. So realistically, you're looking at like a under-leveled Kunkka, a Bounty Hunter who doesn't have a huge amount of burst damage, and a Leshrac with minimal damage output. So Complexity don't have great plays available for them to actually get pickoffs.
Oh, Moo, just so much damage comes out in a short window of time. He will be able to make the Timber Chain away, and it looks like he might escape. They're going to be able to get one more Imprison on him, and just Complexity are not here fast enough. Swindle's going to try and slow things down with a stun eventually, but it just doesn't happen in time. Moo ends up going down, and now Swindle's in a bit of trouble. Victoria is going to be sniped out. Cancel gets a bit of damage on him, but it's not quite enough. Swindles will die instead as Victoria sneaks himself one step ahead of both Cancel as well as Monkeys Forever. They definitely could have used some sort of bounty kill there, but unable to get really anything out of that situation. And even bottom lane, it continues to be a threat to anybody who shows up in this lane. Z-Freak thinks, all right, time to get some solo experience. gets gone on by Slark, ends up dying to the help of a double damage rune.
Jame's just playing like super greedy, and he's also doing a really good job of pressuring lane. He's constantly spamming at the Dark Pact like you mentioned earlier, and this is allowing him to maintain rune controls, a double damage there that he had. He's also farming his big camp. He's maximizing his efficiency. He's almost level 11, and we're just up 11 minutes into the game, so this has been an absolute dream start for the Slark, and this is really LGD making all the right moves. They win that top fight without even having to bring in their carry. Typically, you see a team, if they want to get aggressive up in that off lane, they rotate their carry. But when your carry can remain in the safe lane for this long, you're getting way more out of the map than your opponents.
Yeah, and maybe he's playing more of the aggressor in these situations. He picked up the Drum of Endurance that we've seen a couple times from him on the OD. It's a great effect here. Oh, top lane tower will not be denied. Our Nyx just not feeling comfortable trying to go forward for that and potentially dying to any initiation from Complexity. Right now, they're really happy with the way the lanes go as long as they don't give up too many kills. Jixing will be going down, though. Caught out by an X, a boat torrent combination, and he will end up going down. That's the first track kill of the game for Complexity, but they're going to need a whole lot more to be able to claw their way back into this game.
Yeah, gets them their arcane boots, gets them on the right track, and it kind of shows and highlights the kind of comeback route for the team, which is finding those pickoffs, using perhaps some smoke ganks. Now that Kunker's hit level 6, you've got the Ghost Ship, you've got 4 points in the Shuriken for Monkeys. He's got the mana to sustain it with the arcane boots, so the burst damage potential is finally there, and I think very likely we see these kind of Complexity rotations around trying to take some objectives and get pickoffs using track now.
Moo. He thought maybe he could stand one-on-one against Ame. What he doesn't expect is LGD to bring 2 more heroes into the lane. Almost gets out. A little bit of Timber Chain. A nice play from Victoria. Well-placed Chain. Does manage to finish off that Timber Saw and gives them the escape away. Complexity just a bit too delayed with the help of an imprisonment covering their retreat. Maybe and the boys get out and actually posing to go back in once again.
Yeah, they may look to turn around. They've still got the vision up there, which Swindles will now deward, so do prevent LGD from maintaining that vision control in the area, but LGD already kind of back to just playing that farming efficiency game. Slark is working towards the Shadow Blade still, so he's in no big rush to force some fights or get too involved.
Oh, they actually see Z-Freak. He thought he was going to be able to go on to Victoria, but it's the other way around. Victoria and our Nyx Assassin pop out, cancel. He's actually going to be able to, oh, nice steal with the Shrapnel. They're going to be able to slow down Cancel quite a bit. Even if Victoria gives up his life here, it's well worth it, but Imprisonment actually saves him. They're going to come in with the TP, and Moo will be able to get this kill with the Timber Chain, but now he's in trouble. If they actually manage to get a stun on him, the OD will rip him apart with that. Oh no, there's Timber Chain! He has to turn around, throws out some damage, but he dies so easily. The pure damage coming out from this OD is just too much for him to handle, and Complexity struggling to get any kind of control in this map.
That was just such a great set up from the Nyx Assassin. He didn't just go for the Impale on the hero they were going for, but hit the sniper behind, so they had that extra bit of stun duration on him, and then Rubik timber chaining in, steals Shrapnel along the way. Just great individual plays coming out from the support and offlaner of LGD. They haven't been able to take too many objectives, but it's very much not what their draft is designed to do. They're happy just to outfarm their opponents, and well, it's just play the kill game. Like you're getting a Midas Slark as well as OD, two of the kind of cores that kind of rely a bit more on kills than others as far as being able to snowball, and they're perfectly happy with the position they're in regardless of not taking towers on the map.
Meanwhile, Complexity's heroes, if you look at both their supports and their cores, they're heroes that need to play from ahead, right? Sniper, Leshrac, like those supports and those cores cannot afford to be behind.
Well, we'll take another look here. That was the nice 2-hero stun before the Rubik swoops on him with the stolen Shrapnel. LGD just playing so well as a team. They're backing each other up. Victoria even getting in deep there to get the kill gets banished. If not for Moo showing up, he would have been saved by that Astral. So all around great play from LGD.
Yeah, and they still managed to get Moo towards the end as well, which is obviously a really big kill. He's easily the highest net worth on his team. That's not saying much. He's just barely breaking the 5K marker. Bottom lane, they do manage to get themselves a track kill onto the Nyx Assassin. That'll help speed things up for Moo. He desperately needs to try and get that Bloodstone and start building up those charges so he can have a higher impact in the mid game. They're going to need it with the way that OD and Slark are scaling.
We're at that point where Slark's hit level 13 with the Shadow Blade. Normally you get the Shadow Blade, you're level 10, but when you've got 13, he's going to 60-second duration on Essence Shift, and this is Essence Shift with level 4 Bloodlust. They've basically skilled and itemized such that they can maximize the Slark's effectiveness in that first fight or two with Shadow Blade. He's going to be able to steal a ridiculous amount of stats because of the attack speed with the Bloodlust, and he's going to be able to keep it for a long time. The Midas giving him all that extra experience and levels to have the high level of Essence Shift.
And the hard part of this is, right, Complexity, the way they have to respond to a Shadowblade Slark, they have to group up.
Yep.
Which just means more room for LGD to be able to work their magic with the farm that they can get off of this OD and the Slark. If they want to, they can just continue to play more of a farm game and don't have to try and contest Complexity when they go for these 5-man pushes.
It's so hard to play as a sniper now that the Shadowblade's up. Army will walk right past the sentry, but it doesn't matter.
Z-Freak, the big team fighter support will be taken out first. That is not a good sign for Complexity as they try and fight around their tier 2. Ame will be able to escape here, takes the track off of himself. It's going to be Victoria who's spotted out instead by Complexity. They try and pursue, but he is so far gone. LGD simply back away from the team fight after getting the 1 pick and forcing the rotation from Cole.
And Slark just runs through a sentry ward and a tower to get a kill and gets out. That's saying something. He did that without the Bloodlust too, which was perhaps a slight oversight, but either way, it doesn't matter. He's now ready to go back in with another Shadowblade, and this time with Bloodlust.
He spots out Moo. Not the easiest hero to lock down. He wants a bit more reliable hero. He's going to wrap around behind the tier 1, see if he can spot anything. Nobody's there. They'll easily take this objective. Complexity not in position to put up a fight.
Yep. Very hard for Complexity to initiate at this point. They're entirely relying on that X, but for the side of LGD, they've always got that scouting Slark in the front lines. They potentially have a Nyx Assassin vendetta, and it's going to turn into this big sentry battle, and it's LGD who are starting to get some towers, who have the big economy advantage. They can easily invest in more sentries without it really hurting them too much, and they're the ones pushing the lane, so they're going to be there first and be able to plop down those sentries and prevent Complexity from being able to initiate.
Poor Monkeys. He's trying to work towards a mech, but he's only got the headdress and the arcane boots. You take a look at the difference between our mids. Cancel very clearly was one of the standout players for Complexity in their previous series against Evil Geniuses, but you see those stats, and he's just not matching up against Maybe here in this game number 1. Maybe has been promoted by his team to succeed.
Oh, they saw the bounty with the sentry.
Not able to quite get the dust in range. Monkeys will slip away. Gets a lot of valuable information for his team as they try and set up with this smoke, but they really didn't bring enough heroes. That's going to be Swindles easily going down. I think they thought maybe we'd be able to run in and find just a 1 pick off in the jungle, but LGD actually far more grouped up than Complexity expected.
Yeah, Complexity even kind of split off. Z-Freak went toward the Ancients area. The other 3 maintained their position in the Radiant jungle, trying to find that pick-off you mentioned. Try to get a quick track kill, get out. Hopefully without casualties, but you're talking about getting out against a 4-staff OD who can Astral you, a Slark who can chase you down, and Nyx. Easier said than done, and Complexity getting punished there. Not quite the outcome to that smoke gank they were hoping for.
Z-Freak, half a second away from being able to TP out. Maybe catches him, imprisons him, and with some backup coming in, maybe doesn't even need it. He gets all the right clicks. And Complexity may still be in trouble in the mid lane too. Ame's going to be leading the charge here. Swindle sees him coming, tries to get off as much as he can, but Ame just pops the ultimate. He may be stuck underneath his Chakram. Moo does get the counter kill. Victoria manages to steal Chakram, and a nice stun coming out from Jing Xing, and they manage to actually push back some of these Cole members, but they'll still lose Victoria. Meanwhile, at the top lane, those 2 other heroes, they didn't actually try and rotate into the mid lane to help out the rest of LGD. Instead, they take that tier 2 tower, a nice objective to claim.
It's ambitious, a bit of greed coming out from the Slark there, knowing he can kill the Lesh, but didn't really have a good escape plan, and Complexity were ready for him. It looks like LGD not done. They want to keep on hunting.
Nice interception. The Nyx Assassin poses himself right in front of that Timber Chain, will be able to block it with a Spike Carapace, and they actually force a suicide out, but Complexity can maybe still keep fighting. 5 more seconds up until the Timber Saw is alive, but they choose not to try and go for any sort of X initiation. They back away, feeling LGD are too strong, even in a 3 versus 4.
Yeah, they've got the mech up now, so things get a little bit more viable for Complexity to take that 5-man teamfight approach. The Bloodstone pickup for Moo means he's ready to ideally start fighting and picking up some charges, not having to suicide like he just did. But this is really Complexity kind of hitting one of their peaks. They can't farm. As much as Sniper's not really at a point where it's like, okay, I've got good items to kind of get involved. The alternative is he goes off, farms by himself, and he's going to get picked apart by the Slark. There's no real room for Cancel to get anything from the map, so his best bet is actually kind of to play around his team, either have them sit behind him or for him to go on those kind of smoke rotations with the rest of his team.
A scan coming out from LGD did manage to clip Monkeys, but they may be expecting Hayran back towards the Dire side rather than deeper into the Radiant. Reveals himself now, starts getting a little bit of track set up for this potential push. They go ahead and try and get a dust on him. He's already deep into the trees and will not be found just yet. Counter ward is there. If they only had a hero to be able to spot Monkeys' rotation, he's actually staying one step ahead of them. In fact, he's in a corner where the sentry won't be able to see him in just this corner. He arcane boots and now reveals himself. Nyx Assassin will be able to catch him, and this will be the death of Monkeys. None of his team trying to come forward to save him. They get the X.
Oh. God.
They get the X on
OD,
Ame, but there's nothing doing.
Yeah, I mean, they had to commit a Sanity's Eclipse for the bounty, so at least you can kind of say towards the end, like, well, now let's go fight. That's OD ultimate down. He managed to get just out of the sentry range again and go invis, so I think LGD felt like, crap, he's going to get away. They'd used up all their sentries and dust, and committing an OD ultimate gives Complexity a bit of confidence. They smoke up as 4. They want to find a pick.
Yeah, I think I like this read. I think the fact that OD threw his ultimate, they think LGD's not going to push that bottom lane. Maybe they could catch someone mid, and they're almost right. Ame managed to get a good target pack, pounce away, and unfortunately Complexity are now maybe a bit too deep into that tier 1 tower. One rotation from XZ might be able to catch Swindles as he's slowed down. Victoria hot on his case here. They managed to get another earn charge, but a good boat actually slows up some of these heroes. Finally, XZ does manage to close the distance, gets another stun out, but Swindles is away. It's Moo on the left-hand side, dealing with 2 of the cores. He needs to throw out a Chakram and a Timber Chain out, just playing alongside the trees and the cliffs. LGD can't play the same game that he can.
Yeah, that's not a core that Ame really wants to chase too hard into, given his damage potential, but Moo's still being chased. And
they get a double stun here. Ame's positioning himself to maybe get enough damage. Moo has a Timber Chain, but he can't get out. The Spike Carapace holds him in place. He tried to hold on to that ability until Spike Carapace wears out, but we could just see how well the Nyx Assassin counters Moo's hero.
Yeah, he's been able to block and to return damage on so many of those chakrams and set up for the impales. It's been a wonderful pick for LGD, and as it stands, the Slark and the OD are just pulling ahead in terms of overall farm. So it doesn't really matter what the Timbersaw can do as far as being a counter to the Slark. When you get this big item advantage, you can get that early BKB if you need. And then when you're ready to start taking objectives, taking Roshan, you don't want to pick it up too early, but ultimately when you get that 10-second BKB timing, it gets very difficult for Complexity to take any kind of a fight.
Mm-hmm. You can see Ame's actually taking a lot of farm away from Complexity. Now that he's got this Echo Saber, he's got like infinite sustainability between mana and HP, so he can go ahead and play inside the enemy jungle, clear through waves really easily. Complexity just have very little options when it comes to farm. Most of the time, they're going to have to group up and try and push into LGD, see if they can get some sort of favorable pick. Even a full-out team fight seems hard for Complexity to be able to force due to their lack of hard initiation.
Yeah, and I think the big difference I noticed there between the two characters is Moo's been involved in 100% of the kills, Ame in 55%. You're much happier with LGD stats there. You don't want to have to rely on your carry to be there to get kills. It really shows that Complexity are only finding kills when they've had almost their entire lineup involved. Monkeys has been in 5 of the 6. Moo's been in all 6 of them. They're struggling to find the kills, and it's only really around the Timbersaw that it's working. For LGD, they're getting kills with Nyx, with the OD. Slark's getting some kills. He's getting some solo kills where he needs to. They've just got much greater damage output as a whole and more ways to actually initiate these fights.
They see this Nyx, but they know they can't really initiate onto him. Z-Freak tries to hide himself in the trees. TP's out, is successful. So that might be a bit of a win unless Cancel goes down in mid lane. Oh, the damage is too much. Ame is still able to get that kill. Just the high levels there is enough for him to be able to beat down the sniper before the TP can complete. Without the sniper now, maybe LGD can finally go for this push at bottom lane. They've been posturing a couple times over the last few minutes. Last time, Monkeys and the way they had to use that ultimate kind of stopped them. This time around, there is nothing in their path. This tier 1 tower will go down, and maybe they'll even push for the tier 2.
Yeah, with the Blink Dagger and Nyx, even getting close to spam a Chakram is so dangerous because of that Blink Impale threat, as well as, of course, walking into the Chakram, and then you can close that gap. So getting even near this is absolutely impossible for Complexity, it seems.
Yeah, they seem to have no real wave clear. In fact, they're going to be able to get the initiation on a Moo. Moo just almost gets popped. The Yule Scepter goes down, but he's going to come back down just to a simple right-click of maybe, and he'll still end up dying. Monkeys forever caught in the backside, but Bounty Hunter kill. That's not really much to talk about. It's the 2 cores that died in the beginning. That's the important thing. LGD, with that initiation, easily win the team fight, clean up whatever they can, proclaim a tier 2 on top of everything else, and stream ahead in this game 1.
Yeah, they're ready to break through this high ground, at least try and take a tier 3 tower off of this. The respawn time is still fairly short. And
again, Victoria, just with the Blink Dagger, finds these openings. He gets the last remaining hero of Complexity, and LGD seemingly in a position to take this tier 3 and maybe even force a fight around the racks.
Yeah, they're pretty good to continue fighting. They've used the Sanities, which is the main big ultimate, I mean, their main big ultimate on their team, but the farm and item advantage is so much, yeah, there's nothing Complexity can do.
And they know it too. It's just these heroes, this was a very momentum-based lineup right from Complexity. They had a core bounty hunter. You need to be able to build up those track kills, and it just didn't happen. They lost the lanes too hard, too early, and without any real early semblance of farm, those heroes just looked impotent.
Yeah, I think you can. The idea makes sense because I look back at like some of those EG games where they had success was these really high kill games. There was tons of fighting going on. Like some of the kill scores are getting like a kill a minute in some of those games. So that's where they're like, man, how good would the bounty hunter be in like, these kind of games? That's where we succeed is when we've got cancel fighting, being aggressive, kind of getting to do his thing. But the early game, the lane stage was just completely fell apart. You had Nyx Assassin solo in the off lane getting more CS than the Timbersaw. Everything about LGD's setup in the lanes was just beating Complexity this game.
Is there any other hero? Is it just the core bounty hunter that was a problem for Complexity? Would you have liked to see a different, more scaling offlaner, and you would have felt more comfortable with their draft, or do you think LGD just beat them both on draft and play?
I think they beat them on both, but the draft was the core bounty hunter and also the lack of like a 5-position hero because no one's really zoning that Nyx Assassin and no one's really contesting the offlane. That's such a free lane for a Slark. He doesn't need the Rubik to help him. He gets like a gank or two from Rubik, but it's very much Rubik ganks the lane, gets a kill, gets another kill, and then he's off. He's only there for kills. He's never there to zone. If it's such an easy kill to get on a bounty hunter that Rubik doesn't need to zone him. He just needs to come, take his free money, then go help mid. So lanes were just too easy for LGD.
Yeah, it seems like Complexity really shot themselves in the foot there. I'm sure our analysts have a few words to it as well, as they were certainly befuddled before the game. Sure. I'm sure they're still feeling a little bit the same way.
Hey man, there's someone that shot themselves in the foot like alongside you as well. I don't think I forgot what you said, Gods, in the ending of yesterday. Something along the lines of Complexity EG. That's going to be the most boring game of the groups. I think were your words.
Absolutely.
Pot kettle black.
I was wrong.
He may still be able to prove
it.
His opinion may still be right. It's just the wrong series.
Okay.
Sure. The game one was not a close match.
No, not at all. Well, I'll go ahead and ask these guys exactly why that was. Cheers, boys. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Right, LGD running away, just absolutely sprinting away from Complexity. I mean, Fogged, I'm going to start with you just because you had, I don't want to say you had faith, but you also thought Complexity, you just pick up a big win, you start rolling with it, you start flying that North American flag.
I said LGD though.
But you did say that Complexity were going to give them a good game. You had faith.
That's true. I did say that, but I think as soon as we all kind of saw the draft, we all were kind of in unison. We were a bit confused, kind of perplexed with what their idea was and what they were going to, like, how they were even going to do the lane setup. I think Parker kind of hit it on the head as well with like his points that he was making. Victoria had some free kind of game for himself as the support Rubik. Like you can see, like just in the highlights here, he's kind of just a playmaker. He's running around, just being able to do anything, going wherever he just feels like needed. Like he only needs to start bottom for a moment, get like 1 or 2 kills on the bounty hunter, and then Slark has his own free reign on the game. He's able to run around, goes mid with the smoke rotation, kills cancel like once or twice, moves top, makes the plays happen. Just easy rotations, just isn't really needed in that safe lane. Makes it a lot easier for your team when you can just have your support do whatever the hell he wants.
I had almost forgotten how perplexed we were by that draft, Ben. We by the end of it, we still weren't sure where it was going. In fact, as the game started, you didn't know where it was going.
I don't know what's happening here. And I think they tried to switch too many things up. Like I think Monkeys on Spirit Breaker, Slardar, these sort of things that go in there, they stun people, they start off fights. Bounty Hunter is much different. You get vision, you play a more reconnaissance type of game. That's what they were aiming for this game. And then Moo on Timber, yes, it was very good at TI6, but he's a carry player now. He's not an offlane player, and it's not the same feel. And I think they just tried to change way too many things up, maybe just trying to throw off LGD, but it like people were just dying everywhere.
Does that sound about right to you, Ted?
Yeah, but it's all part of the long con. You give him the game one. You make yourself look like you had no idea what you're doing. It was like, what is going on? We couldn't even, like you said, we were looking at the draft for like, okay, so there's like 5 ways they could do this, and I'm not sure about any of them. So I think they've done this. Lull them in, false sense of security, and then you strike.
Trying to keep your prediction alive.
Yeah, 2-1. I said 2-1. It's going to be 2-1. No problem.
Hey, didn't this happen? This was the first game against EG. Didn't
it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Same kind of case. Same kind of story?
This one was more just... I don't even want to say this one was more of an outdraft, but it kind of feels like it. The other one was just... the one versus EG, it was more like just like an Alchemist going completely out of control and they had no response to it. This one was just like every single one of LGD's heroes just kind of had free reign. Complexity's draft just was pretty limited. They had to do so much in this early laning stages, and then still, I don't even feel like they come out ahead into that. They have to come out like super far ahead, but then it's like... LGD had the preemptive decisions already kind of made. Slark went for a Midas. He was already prepping towards that late game, and there's kind of nothing that Complexity could kind of do in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreboard will show exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Never really getting going. 3 heroes unable to make a real dent on the scoreboard, at least in the kills department. And when you do take a quick look at that one, yes, Ted, it's intimidating.
Boy. Yeah, that's about as ugly as it gets, really. I don't really know what to say about that.
I'm liking Victoria more and more.
You are?
Every game I see him in, I'm like, wow, this guy is really, really good. And every game he just, like 12 assists, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally just ran around killing everybody. He was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to kill bottom, all right, going to kill mid, going to kill top, getting some cool spells.
And maybe
making the
didn't
moves.
die again.
Yep.
So I think that I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure there's 3 games in a row where he hasn't died.
I believe that is correct.
That sounds correct, because the first game we said it, the second we said it.
Yeah.
and
So
this is
this
the
would be
third.
the third. So let's see if he can make it 4. I don't know what the record is, but there definitely have been records set in tournaments for people going multiple games without dying in sequence. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kill him. I think if they kill him in this game, that's a small victory that Complexity need to take.
But I do just want to clarify, and I said sometimes we get kind of like not blinded, but you know, it's very easy to put the blinkers on and just appreciate one player. Maybe yes, is a crucial element in LGD's success, but I mean, when you're getting 23-6, it's not just it's by no means just the maybe show, is it, Ben? There's still a lot more going on behind the scenes.
Definitely not. We've given some love to some of the other
Yeah,
guys. I guess
Victoria, you've talked about that.
the offlane player Jixing maybe hasn't
Jixing had
gotten
some-
that much credit. I like this Nyx play.
That one Nyx play, we were
Yeah.
both just like,
Yeah,
that was legit.
the one in mid where he carapaced the Timbersaw as he predicted where he was going to go.
It was pretty
great.
cool.
I think, as you guys have said multiple times as well, that it's the other heroes that enable the mid to do well. So if maybe's just left to it, maybe it's a little harder, or possibly it's a little harder for him. He's a very good player. He's good enough to do it. But as I think it was, I think Kat pointed it out.
Yeah.
Might have been wrong there, but he said that because they could just rotate and just leave the slug to it, it meant that they could just go and continually help maybe and get even further ahead. So yeah, he does play well, but it's a team game.
These damn names always controlling me. Maybe no one. It's
Wait till
just
you. Hey, you're lucky we don't have ice, like all these like.
ice.
Yeah.
And then we
All
have
the
baby.
different
That
ones.
would be good.
Yeah.
All right, we have a question from the social universe. I keep saying Twitter, but I don't
Social
think it's
universe.
Well, I mean, I think we've got Reddit threads. We've got a lot. It's coming in from everywhere. This one's from Upon Vengeance. He says, "Should the Dota map be tweaked? It seems like Dire is greater than Radiant right now." Oh, I'm just going to throw that into the pit.
Well, people say that I don't like stat slap. That's not necessarily true. I just think that stats are misleading a lot of times because Dire might be better than Radiant, but also it might be like because your first pick, you choose a certain side, and then it might be like first pick's actually way stronger or second pick's way stronger.
Yeah.
So if we had more information, you can be like, yeah, Dire has 60% win rate. That's broken. But what if most of them choose Dire and win the coin flip, and then maybe it's just like first pick is just not really that strong anymore.
Yeah, we'd need to see a breakdown of the combinations of picks and maps, which is more important, and how do you weight it? It is quite tricky, but I mean the map it's pretty good right now, I think. I don't know if they'll make any changes. There's certainly nothing glaring like there was prior to the Roche bit used to be, like we were talking about the other day, in a different place. And once that changed, it did help things a lot. But yeah, there are differences.
The one, at least for me, the one kind of not glaring SUK, but one thing that kind of makes Dire just a little bit easier to handle is getting into the access into the Radiant jungle is the one thing that I always feel is a little bit just easier for Dire to always access that and just be able to claim it and just like, how do you actually get in to be able to contest it? There's too many access points there. So that for me is like the one thing there, but other than that, I don't know.
Sounds about right.
The Radiant Ancients, I think, are much easier to defend.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen that many Ancient heroes. Like Sven is not that picked that often.
Luna, we've
we
seen a lot
saw
of Luna, yeah.
a couple of games
But
here
yeah.
and there. And then what else is way better about...
And one thing about the Dire is that little camp near their secret shop, that if you're the offlaner, you can go and get a bit of farm from that camp, I think, a lot more easily. It's a shorter walk. Is it actually short on the Radiant side? I'm trying to think which one is shorter, that walk to that little camp.
It's pretty equidistant.
It is, isn't it?
Equidistant.
Yeah.
Equidistant.
That's a word,